InfoWars founder and star Alex Jones is standing trial in the defamation suit brought against him by the parents of the children who were killed at the Sandy Hook shooting back in 2012. Today, though, the case took a very interesting turn. Alex Jones's lawyer apparently slipped up and sent Alex Jones's phone records to the opposing counsel by accident. And so on those phone records were some text messages that I guess Alex Jones denied ever sending. Testified under oath during his deposition that he had no knowledge of. And so let's watch this exchange right here.
Mr. Jones, you know how an iPhone works, right? You've had iPhone text messaging for several years now.
Yeah.
What does it mean if the messages are in blue? Whose messages are those? Whose phone is this taken from?
I don't know whose phone's taken from. I mean, I turned the phone over and said, take the stuff off.
Can I have you look in the very bottom below the very bottom left corner? Is that your phone number?
Yes. So you did get my text messages. And it said you didn't. Nice trick.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Oh.
Indeed. You didn't give this text message to me. You don't know where this came from. Do you know where I got this?
No.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have a text message about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then...
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
No, I didn't know this happened. But I mean, I told you I gave them the phone over.
But just
And
answer the question.
You said in your deposition, you searched your phone. You said you pulled down the text, did the search function for Sandy Hook. That's what you said, Mr. Jones, correct?
And I had several different phones with this number, but I did, yeah. Well, of course, I mean, that's why you got it.
No, Mr. Jones, that's not what happened.
My lawyer sent it to you, but I'm hiding it. Okay.
Mr. Jones,
Mr. Jones,
please just answer questions. There's no question. Mr. Bankston also only asks questions.
Sure.
That looks like a guy who's pretty fucked.
Well, no, it's the best thing that could happen to him because he's going to get sued for millions of dollars, and he can get that from his lawyer now.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
You know what kind of lawsuit his lawyer just opened himself up to.
Yeah, I mean, he could. He
didn't even claim it as privileged before it wound up in open court. Come on, man. That guy. I mean, just in terms of how our system is supposed to work, that guy should be disbarred. That is fucking gross incompetence.
Unless he sent it to him knowing that this would happen and that this could help get Jones some of the money back that he's going to lose in this defamation suit. In other words, this phone leak may have been a false flag committed by Alex Jones so that he could sue the lawyer. Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, is he going to fire this guy now? Like, that is incredible. Not only that happened, but that he didn't claim it as privileged.
No, but look, he
that?
can go after the lawyer. He can go after the lawyer, and there may be some legal protection that he can claim if his lawyer.
He can probably move for a mistrial, can he?
Well, I don't think he can move for a mistrial in the defamation case. First of all, he's already been found liable for defamation. The only question now is how much is he going to have to pay out?
Is that what they're? Is that?
Yeah,
is that
right.
what this is? This is the penalty phase?
Right. Yes. Yeah, he's already admitted to that. But the other thing that this potentially opens him up to is criminal prosecution for lying under oath. I mean, he could have very well perjured himself when he said that he did not send any texts, regarding.
It's hard to prove because you can always say that you forgot.
Well, perjury is extremely hard to prove. I mean, that's an extremely difficult case to prove, but Alex Jones is certainly on the establishment's shit list, right? I mean, if they were going to go after anybody on this, they would go after him. You're right. That's a notoriously difficult thing to prove, is that someone actually, deliberately lied under oath. Right. Because depending on what the when the contents of the text messages are, he could say, well, yeah, Sandy Hook came up in passing, but this wasn't in regards to the defamation trial. I mean, we don't know because we don't know what the text messages are. You couldn't tell from there.
He could just say he didn't remember.
He didn't remember. I mean, that depends on how many.
You can't prove that he did.
It depends how many there are. I mean, if he's going back and forth forever about this, there's no way that a jury could.
Always going on the air, fucking loaded on high balls, man.
Oh, you mean on the show?
Yeah. He's always coming on loaded. So,
I mean, the thing about this, when it comes to Alex Jones, I mean, I've always had a bit of mixed views on Jones because, I'll be honest with you, I happen to think the guy is an extraordinarily talented broadcaster. I actually think he's an extremely intelligent person. That doesn't mean his insights are good. It just means in just terms of like computing power of his brain is just phenomenal. I mean, the guy can talk for 4 hours, stream of consciousness, never hesitate, never stutter, never stammer, never have to restart, never says the same thing twice. His broadcasts were always chock full of information, right? Whatever you want to think. You could think it's bullshit information, but he would constantly introduce new facts and new stories and things. So he's just an extraordinarily entertaining person. And that's why, his website there has just completely blown up to the point where they were taking in, upwards of $800,000 a day at certain points. And then that's the other thing, that the phone not only contained text messages, but contained financial documents and emails and things like that, proving that he was taking in a fuck ton of money, which could also complicate his bankruptcy claim because the parent company, Free Speech, whatever it is, that owns InfoWars, which is Jones's company, filed for bankruptcy a few days ago. And if they can prove that there's all this money that they tried to move around at the last minute, based on the records from this phone, that could complicate that. So, yeah, I mean, he definitely could have a suit against the lawyer. But I think whatever negative consequences arise out of this are going to far outweigh that, because he could have just opened himself up to criminal prosecution, and his bankruptcy claim could be sort of complicated from this as well. And, you could tell from the look in his eye there that, I mean, he looked like a guy who had been caught. And just his sort of defense that he tried to sort of improv his way through there. Well, if you have the phone, it's because I have nothing to hide. But the guy explained very, very clearly, well, no, you guys didn't voluntarily give me the phone, at least not on purpose. Certainly Alex Jones didn't consent to giving him the phone. It's not as though, here's my phone, I'm an open book. No. In fact, it was the opposite. Sure. In fact, much of what was on that phone, it seems like Alex Jones denied existed in the first place. Now, just getting back to what I think about Alex Jones, like I said, extraordinarily entertaining, extraordinarily talented. And I think, what happened to Alex Jones is similar, and I know this is going to strike some people, not all people, as a very crude comparison, and I don't mean to compare them as similar, but I think they're similar in the same sense that, Joe Rogan sort of broadcast to this mass audience, and I think Joe Rogan, he's actually said as much, that sometimes he just speaks as if he's not being listened to by 11 million people. Like sometimes it's difficult to actually grasp the actual influence that you're having on people when you grow to that, to at such an exponential rate. And I feel like that's a lot of what happened with Alex Jones, especially because I think so much of what he would traffic in is sort of like exaggerated theatrical metaphor. Like when Alex Jones called Hillary Clinton a demon and Barack Obama a demon, Obama went on stage at a rally. He's like, "Can you believe this? Alex Jones says I'm a demon." And
That was
it's
pretty
like,
good.
yeah, that guy do a fairly good Obama.
Yeah, that was a good Obama.
But like my response, I remember watching the TV and I remember thinking, well, he's right. You are a fucking demon. Like you are figuratively a fucking demon. You and all these people, yeah, you're all fucking demons. You're not actually, you know, inhuman beings that like escaped from hell, but you function as demons. That's how you function, right? And I believe that like Jones uses that kind of theatrical metaphor to great effect. I don't think he actually believes that they're physical demons. I don't believe his audience believes that they're physical demons, but this is like a fun thing. It's a fun kind of rapport that he built up with his audience that like, yeah, we're going to traffic in these over the top sort of theories and sort of express our views using this very over the top language. And yeah, a lot of what we say is not going to be literally physically true, but there's going to be a sort of essence at the core of it, a sort of like political ethos at the core of this, a sort of anti-establishment, you know, like libertarian ethos that's going to come through. And we're all going to kind of have this sort of understanding with each other in our world here as to what we're talking about. And he grew that brand extraordinarily well. The problem is, it's one thing to speak in those terms when you're calling Hillary Clinton a demon. It's another thing to speak in those terms when the target of this insanity are the grieving parents of children murdered in school. And that's someplace where you just can't go there. Like you just fucking can't go there. And I think the guy is too big of an ego. He has too much invested in his brand of never backing down, the big Texan tough guy, to the point where once he went there, he just felt like he had to double down on it, to the point where he wasn't even calling off some just like abhorrent behavior, like his followers were harassing the parents of these kids. And like, you know, that's a situation where like that it's inexcusable not to put a stop to that if you are a showrunner and you know that people are taking what you're saying and going out and doing this. There's just no excuse to let it go on. And he did, and now he's facing the consequences for that.
Sure, he's getting what he deserves. You know, those of us, and we were among them, who were disturbed by his being removed from various platforms, always made the point it wasn't about Alex Jones, it was about the freedom of speech issue. And I think time has proven us right. We said today it's Alex Jones. Tomorrow it's going to be people that you like. Tomorrow it's going to be left broadcasters. And even though I don't like the way Dole is trying to get his numbers up, the YouTube community owes him a great debt of gratitude for doing a lengthy video showing what YouTube is doing to left broadcasters. And really, Jones was the beginning of that. It was the beginning of them basically hiding behind the phrase content moderation as a way of essentially banning free speech from these platforms. And once they did it, there's a direct line from Alex Jones to banning coverage of the Hunter Biden laptop, which turned out to be true, which affected a presidential election. And I don't care if you feel good. Okay, but now we don't have freedom of speech. Now you are empowering these tech platforms because you bring this up to a lot of people on the left, and a lot of them, they don't want to say it that way, but they feel that the ends justified the means. But if you understand what the implications are and you understand the way that can be used against you, that is a line we can never cross, and we've crossed it. Look, I mean, there are ways to deal with speech that really, truly crosses lines that we as a society have agreed upon. If you're saying things that are libelous, that are defamatory, that are threatening, that are menacing, these things can all be dealt with in a court. not by tech oligarchs. That is not the way to deal with it, because they're going to come for you. And if you're on the left, they already have come for us. And if you're on the left and you supported that action against Jones, well, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Please clap.